and welcome to Closer, the Lent course from the Isle of Wedmore Benefice. And this week I'm in Chapel Allerton, no less. And this week it's the third week of 5 of our Lent course, which is designed to help you and to help your church in the run-up to Easter draw closer and nearer to God. And this week we are thinking about standing firm. Essentially we're asking, why can we trust the promises of God? And how can we stand firm on them during Lent? Let's have a look and find out more.
Well, some years ago, I worked for a retailer that kept promising me promotion if I worked hard and produced the desired results that they were looking for. And so over the next year, I worked hard, I started earlier, I worked through my breaks, and I finished long after everybody else had gone home. And the store that I was working in saw really great success. And again, I was promised promotion if I kept producing those results. And I did the same for another year, and the same promise was made. But again, a year later, nothing materialized. Now, for those of you who know me, I'm not a cynical person, but I started to have doubts about the promises that were being made to me. So I decided that I was going to apply for another job with another company. I got through the interview and I was offered the position. But when it came to handing in my notice, the area manager said to me, "Oh Sam, we do not want to lose you. You're doing such a great job. Look, there's a job coming up in one of our really big stores in 6 months' time. If you could just wait, keep producing results for another 6 months, then that job is yours. You can have it." Well, I don't need to tell you, do I? But I decided to take the other position because I didn't want to stick around to find out if they meant what they meant, if they were being true to their word. I wasn't struggling in that situation with a physical dilemma. I was working through the logic of whether I could trust the promises that my employers were making to me at the time, whether I could trust them at their word. Well, this week, as part of Closer, we're thinking about standing firm on our faith and trusting in the promises of God. And in the same way, when we think of the promises of God, we wonder, can we trust God at any given point of our life to be true to his word and his promises? Because it is those promises that God makes to us that help us to stand firm. So, why can we trust the promises of God? Well, he's given us his word. And not just one word, but several. He's given us this, the Bible. And the Bible tells us that God had a plan from the start. It tells us how he outworked that plan. And it tells us the promises that he's made for the future. This book represents a binding contract between us and God. And it is on this book and the words that are in here that we stand firm on our faith. The promises that are in this book are the promises that God made to Adam. They're the promises that God made to Abraham and his descendants. And finally, it contains the promises that he made to you and I through his Son, Jesus Christ. Now, at face value, all that works, doesn't it? In our heads, with a little bit of imagination and a license for creativity. Yet, it's lacking one thing. And it's that little word called faith. Faith is what makes God's promises come alive. Without it, without faith, Christianity is nothing but a question of logic. Like whether I was going to get that job or not. But logic is for the mind. Faith is a much more childlike substance that is to do with the heart. Yet if we would believe the promises of God with a determined and open heart, then they will change our outlook, they will change our actions, and how we respond to the challenges of life and everything we ever do until the day we die. So what are these promises? Well, for one, he promised that he would be a refuge for us in times of difficulties. He promised that he would never leave us or forsake us. He promised that he would set us free from our past to live the life that he always intended us to live. And what's more, he said that he loved us so much that he sent his only son to die for us. And by faith, we know that these promises are not just for the past, but actually they are alive and active today. And they mean something to everyone who will believe them and stand firmly on them. And they remind us that we are transformed, our lives are transformed and reworked by the promises of God. They remind us that we are citizens of heaven, representatives of God, a God who wants us to draw closer to him here on earth. I want to encourage you as we come to the end of this video to be open to God through Lent. And I want you to be open again to receive the promises of God and listen to what he's saying for your life, your situation, because I don't know where you are right now, for your church, because the pandemic has changed so many things, hasn't it? Why not get your Bible out and go on a promise hunt and see what God has to say for himself? Because it is the promises of God that help us to stand firm. And it's by faith that we trust God at his word.
Well, that brings us to the end of our third video of the Closer course. Hope you've enjoyed it. Join us next week when we are going to be coming from Holy Trinity Church in Blackford, and we're going to be thinking about being fruitful. Join us then. See you soon. Have a great week.